of the parts that go into our vehicles are already USMCA compliant, and the lion's share of that is US. So there's many steps that we can take to offset the 4 to 5 billion, but we
Yeah.
wanted to be transparent and share that's the impact right now. But again, right now, the clarity that we got was so important because it allows us to make decisions for our footprint in the U.S. and in North America to be able to respond to the tariffs and make
Yeah.
sure that we have a growing and strong U.S. auto industry.
Did you know GM might have to pay an extra $3,000 per car if Trump's tariffs kick in? That's not just pocket change. We're talking about a potential industry meltdown that has GM execs sweating through their fancy suits. While Tesla sits pretty making all their cars in America, GM's got a whopping 60% of their EV production happening in Mexico. Talk about bad timing. Now they're scrambling to figure out if they should pack up their Mexican factories or just pass the costs to you. Spoiler alert, your wallet isn't going to like either option. Ever notice how Trump's policies are like that friend who says they're helping you move but ends up breaking your TV? Our Orange Commander-in-Chief has a genius plan to save American jobs by potentially killing American jobs. Trump's proposed 25% tariff on imported vehicles isn't just some random number he pulled from his combover. It's a sledgehammer to the auto industry's kneecaps. And GM has a massive problem since they make so many cars in Mexico. While Tesla's Elon Musk is probably giggling in his rocket ship pajamas because his cars are made in America, GM's Mary Barra is panicking because 60% of their EV production happens south of the border. The market noticed too. GM stock dropped 8% faster than Trump drops allies when they stop being useful. Investors are freaking out because nobody knows what's happening next. The math is brutal for consumers too. Analysts at Barclays say each car could cost $3,000 more with these tariffs. That's like paying extra for guacamole, except the guacamole costs as much as a used motorcycle. And in an industry where profit margins are already thinner than Trump's skin, this could turn profitable cars into money losers overnight. Trump actually met with GM executives, including Mary Barra, who basically said, "Please don't destroy our company," but in fancier corporate language. During the meeting, Barra outlined GM's existing investment plans for new technologies in the US.
And so we do know that there's more conversations going on. For instance, the negotiations going on with Japan and South Korea, China, and many of the other countries that impact from a supply chain perspective. So they understood our industry, the complexities of the supply chain, and the capital intensive nature of our business. But again, right now, the clarity that we got was so important because it allows us to make decisions for our footprint in the U.S. and in North America to be able to respond to the tariffs and make sure that we have a growing and strong U.S. auto industry. As it relates to the $4 to $5 billion, there are many steps that we can take to offset. For instance, we've already added more than 50,000.
Trump's response about his understanding as a hungry toddler being offered vegetables. He just repeated his belief that tariffs would bring manufacturing jobs back to America, like a broken record with a bad spray tan. This mess gets worse when you realize GM isn't just making cheap cars in Mexico. They're producing high-volume vehicles and key components there, including almost 100,000 electric vehicles last year. Ford's CEO Jim Farley was more direct than Barra, calling the situation chaos and warning that the mere threat of tariffs was already causing significant disruption. The irony is thicker than Trump's makeup. His America First policy might actually hurt American companies and American consumers more than anyone else. His reaction to GM's concerns shows he doesn't understand or care about how complex global manufacturing actually is. He thinks factories can just magically appear overnight like his made-up election fraud claims. To survive, GM outlined a plan to increase production at existing US facilities in the short term, while considering a massive reshoring effort later. But wait, it gets even messier when we look at what GM might actually do about this mess.
And so when we understood that announcement was actually, and the actions were going to become official on Tuesday, we thought it was better to wait and be able to provide the guidance that we did. That is what we know now based on the clarity that we're given, and we are very appreciative that the president provided that clarity. We actually delayed this conversation with you and with our investors for a couple days because we knew we had been working with the administration for several months, working with the president and many members of his administration. I've had regular communication and really feel that the White House and the administration are listening to understand the situation.
What's worse than realizing you left your phone at home after you're already at work? How about realizing your entire business model might collapse because of one policy change? That's GM's nightmare right now. They face two terrible options: either pay billions in tariffs or spend a whopping $59 billion to move operations back to the US. It's like choosing between setting your money on fire or throwing it into a volcano. Unlike Ford's CEO Jim Farley, who straight up called the situation chaos, corporate speak for "this is a total disaster," GM's Mary Barra tried to play it cool on earnings calls. She went with the diplomatic approach, which actually spooked investors even more. Nothing scares Wall Street like a CEO pretending everything's fine while the building burns down around them. GM claims they can absorb 30 to 50% of the cost increases without major investments, but that's like saying you can handle getting punched in the face as long as it's only with half strength. Sure, technically possible, but still gonna hurt like hell. The company is desperately trying to reassure investors while scrambling behind the scenes. Moving production isn't like changing your shirt. It means building new factories, training workers, and completely redoing supply chains that took decades to build. We're talking about one of the largest capital investments in American automotive history. You can't just snap your fingers and make Mexico factories appear in Michigan. Meanwhile, GM is already spending billions on their electric vehicle transition. It's like trying to remodel your kitchen while your house is on fire. They're committed to phasing out gas-powered vehicles, building battery plants, and developing new technology. Now Trump wants them to move everything too. Talk about bad timing. The real kicker: even if GM spends all this money to move back to the US, consumers will still pay more for cars because US production is more expensive. So Americans lose either way.
On an annualized basis, trucks that will be building in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And there's other moves that we can make. We already have a very US-centered supply base. Over 80% of the parts that go into our vehicles are already USMCA compliant, and the lion's share of that is US. So there's many steps that we can take to offset the $4 to $5 billion, but we wanted to be transparent and share. That's the impact right now. Well, when we look at the overall $4 to $5 billion impact from tariffs that we shared, well, I spoke to the president when I last visited the White House, but I've been speaking to many members of his administration multiple times a day over the last several weeks. So
higher prices if they stay in Mexico and pay tariffs, or higher prices if they move home. The only winning move is not to play, but Trump's giving them no choice. This whole mess exposes the fantasy of Trump's simple solutions to complex economic issues. Car manufacturing involves thousands of parts crossing borders multiple times. The Orange Commander-in-Chief thinks factories magically appear overnight like his election fraud claims. GM's playing both sides, meeting with Trump while making backup plans. But who wins here? Not American car buyers paying more, not workers facing uncertainty, not companies wasting billions. The only winners are politicians scoring cheap points while everyone else pays the price. So there you have it. Trump's brilliant plan to save American jobs might actually destroy them. Your next car could cost thousands more, while GM wastes billions that could have gone to innovation. The automotive industry employs tons of Americans, but our orange friend doesn't seem to care. Next time someone tells you tariffs are simple solutions, remember GM's nightmare. Ask yourself who really benefits when both American companies and consumers get hurt. And hey, if you're shopping for a new car, maybe do it soon, before prices jump higher than Trump's blood pressure when someone mentions his election loss.